Welcome back to the Daily Living Jewish Kitzur Shulchan Aruch class. We are up to section 75 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We're learning all about lighting Shabbos candles. We've spoken about the time to light Shabbos candles. We've spoken about how many candles to light. We've spoken about making a special prayer by candle lighting, what type of material to light, what type of fuel, when the bracha is made. And finally, we are up to halacha number 5, which is who is required to light the Shabbos candle, the man or the woman? So it's not what you may have thought. Just before we get to there, I'd like to clarify. Yesterday, I mentioned that girls that are unmarried light, I wasn't sure if they light 1 candle or 2 candles. I mentioned 1 candle, and so it is. So if you have a daughter that is staying in her own apartment, so she will light 1 candle, not 2. Why? So the Rebbe gave a number of reasons. The first reason was that if she is home and she wants to light her own candle, then it might be somewhat hurtful to the mother that this is like the mother of the home's mitzvah. Here her daughter is lighting a candle of her own. So therefore, to make a difference, to give respect where respect is due, the mother lights 2 candles while the daughter only lights 1. That's one reason. The second reason the Rebbe gives is in order to incentivize them to come home for Shabbos. If you have girls that have already moved out of the home, they're in their own apartment. So as long as they're lighting just 1 candle and they know that the regular thing to do is 2 candles, it will help them come home for Shabbos. Because as we learned yesterday, the requirement is just to have light in the home. We try to have at least 2 candles because it represents the 2 words of Zachar and Shabor, 2 dimensions of Shabbos. But since that's not an absolute necessity, it is a minimum, but even 1 candle would also suffice. So we say in order to help encourage girls to come home, to move into their parents for Shabbos, they should light only 1. That way they'll feel something is missing and they'll rather come and join their parents for Shabbos. And an additional reason which the Rebbe mentioned was sometimes girls can perhaps have engaged in some form of a relationship, and if they light 2 candles, they might associate the 2 candles to them and their partner. And obviously there would be a problem because under Torah law, a relationship of man and woman in the same place of living together needs to be in the context of marriage. Otherwise, there would be a prohibition of yichud, which is that a man and woman are not allowed to be in seclusion lest they come to sin. So marriage is essential. And if we were to say that an unmarried girl would light 2 candles, she would perhaps associate the second candle with her partner to whom she is not married, and that would certainly be a problem. So based on all of these different reasons, the Rebbe suggested that an unmarried girl light only 1 candle, even if she is staying in her own apartment, but as opposed to at the home, a mother, I think maybe a mother of children is a little bit different. If she lost her husband or was divorced, perhaps that's different. I'm not sure. Could check with your rabbi under those circumstances. Shouldn't happen to any of us. But yes, the mitzvah is to light 2 candles. Some women light, as we mentioned, an additional candle for each child, and that is to give added mazel, to add light to the mazel of each of their children. So as we know, when the mother lights candles, she thinks about her children and she davens to have children that will be Torah learned and healthy. And so it makes sense that some women have the custom, not a halacha, not a requirement, but some have the custom to light an additional candle in addition to the 2 corresponding to the 2 dimensions of Shabbos, to light an additional candle for each of the children.
If you have a couple for Shabbos guests, are they lighting candle in the same room or different rooms?
That's a great question. So we know that candlelight, ideally, the candle should ideally be lit where you eat, although that's not an absolute requirement. On the other hand, if they're going to light candles in the exact same spots, then it could be an issue of a blessing in vain, because if they're lighting a light where there already is light, one could argue that they're not adding anything, and so they're making a bracha for no reason. So therefore, as long as a distinction is made, it's fine. So that means, for example, if you have a tray, then they should maybe light on a separate tray. It could be in the same room, but as long as it's distinct, then it's a distinctly additional source of light, then they can make their own bracha. So it doesn't need to be in another room, but it does need to be distinct. Okay. So sometimes you have these candelabras that can hold 5, 6, 7, 8 candles. You wouldn't want to share that candelabra between two families, because we want each mother's mitzvah, her bracha, to be distinctly on the additional light that she is adding to the home. We are up to halacha number 5. The mitzvah of lighting the candles is incumbent on both men and women. Well, I should say not just women, but on men as well. But women are urged to be more concerned with the mitzvah. Firstly, because they are usually at home at candle lighting time, as opposed to the husbands that may have already gone to shul to daven mincha. In general, they're in the home more, and they manage the home more. So really, the mitzvah is incumbent upon the family, but this mitzvah is generally given specifically to the woman. Additionally, the woman extinguished the light of the world when she caused Adam to sin, when she convinced him to sin. Doesn't mean that he wasn't responsible as well. He was also responsible for sin. But since she originally brought darkness to the world by bringing him to sin, so by lighting the Shabbos candles, it adds additional light to undo that. Therefore, she must make amends for this by lighting candles in honor of Shabbos. This is just an allusion to why it is a mitzvah specifically for women. Therefore, if the woman is in a home, she takes precedence in performing this mitzvah. Nevertheless, the man should also assist with the mitzvah. He should prepare the candles and singe them. That is, he should light them and extinguish them, making it easier to light them afterwards. This is something that I've often wanted to do, and I started doing recently. It makes it a lot easier for the woman when she's lighting candles to be able to just, especially if there's children around, to be able to just hold the match and for the candle immediately to catch light, than for her to have to hold the match until she melts away the wax that goes over the wick. So on a Friday afternoon, one of my Erev Shabbos tasks, my Friday afternoon tasks, is I take the tray. Firstly, I set up all the candles. I put the candles into the candlesticks, and then I take the whole tray to actually the gas range. It's my little trick. And then it just takes a second over a high flame on the gas range on the stove. Takes a second or two of each candle. It just melts away the wax and makes it catch for a moment, put it out. And that way I've had participated in some way in the special mitzvah. And when my wife lights, she is able to do so with ease. After a woman gives birth,
Shabbos is supposed to be a new candle, and if you light it, it's like a new candle. No?
No, there's no requirement for the candle to be new. It should be beautiful, but as we've seen, there's no obligation for it to be an unused candle. And either way, even if there was an added element of wanting to be beautiful, it's not considered used. It's used. On the contrary, it's just getting it ready for use. It's like opening it up. It's like unpacking it. There's no halacha that says the candle should never have been lit before. No. Okay. After a woman gives birth, her husband should light the candles the first Shabbos and say the bracha. But after that, and also each time even if she is in a state of niddah, she would light the candles and make the bracha. The fact that she may be in that particular state does not take away her special mitzvah of lighting the Shabbos candles. It has no halachic ramifications in this context. Now, this study mentions that the first Shabbos, the husband should light Shabbos candles. I'm not sure. I don't think that's practiced, practically speaking. The reason he brings over here the commentaries is maybe because it's difficult for her to get up, meaning if she just had a baby, it's hard for her to move around. But nonetheless, others say that you could bring the candles to her so that she could light it herself. Others say the husband should light it for her. But practically speaking, when a woman does give birth, if she's home and she's able to, then she lights the candles. If she's not home, so the home needs to have candles. If for whatever reason the woman is not home, then whether it's because she had a baby or because she's away on business or whatever the reason may be that she's not home for Shabbos, then of course the man of the household will light candles instead. You're on mute, Moshe, you're talking to me.
Without the bracha or with the bracha?
With the bracha. As we said, let's look back at the beginning. The mitzvah of lighting the candles is incumbent on both men and women. We equally have a requirement. It's just one person does it for the family. When it comes to other mitzvahs like making kiddush, typically the man makes kiddush for the whole family. But when it comes to this mitzvah of lighting candles, the woman does it for the family. But if the woman's not home, then the husband lights the candles. And conversely, if the husband's not home, then the woman will make kiddush. So unless maybe she's got some grown-up sons, maybe they would be able to make kiddush on behalf of the family. Or conversely, if she's got grown-up daughters, maybe they would be able to light Shabbos candles if they're over bar bas mitzvah on behalf of the rest of the family. So that is as far as who lights Shabbos candles. Now, Shabbos candles is a moment when we usher in the Shabbos. And as we mentioned, Shabbos is a very special time. We mentioned earlier that people should dress in beautiful clothes for Shabbos. I mean, if you're in your jeans or whatever else, your jeans and t-shirts or whatever else you may be wearing, then there's no excuse not to come to shul. Come however you are. But that's if it's a choice of either coming to shul or not coming to shul. But if you want to observe Shabbos on the optimum level, whether you do or don't come to shul, even if you're home all Shabbos, like in COVID times when things were tough and everybody was locked in their houses under curfew, even if it's just you with your very own family and nobody will see you besides for you yourself, it is most appropriate, as we mentioned last week or the week before, to get dressed up in beautiful clothes for Shabbos. So you should not be feeling socially out if you decide to if it's a woman and she's putting on a beautiful dress for Shabbos, or if it's a man and he's wearing already his three-piece suits and his shiny black shoes or whatever it may be, this is all most appropriate in honor of Shabbos. That we learned earlier. Now that said, the woman should, before lighting candles, wash herself and dress up in Shabbos clothes rather than doing so after Shabbos comes in. So she wouldn't be allowed to wash herself once Shabbos has begun with hot water or her whole body, but she would be able to get dressed afterwards. If she had a bath or shower earlier in the day, and now she wants to just light the Shabbos candles and then go and get dressed, then halachically that's fine. But ideally, since she is ushering in the Shabbos, which is referred to as the Shabbos queen, she's about to bring the queen into her home. So it is most appropriate that she first gets dressed up with Shabbos clothes and all before she lights candles. Of course, makeup again wouldn't be allowed to be applied on Shabbos, so that she would need to do before she lit the candles. She'll recite the mincha prayer before lighting candles. So if she davens mincha every day, then she should first daven mincha and then light the candles, because once she's lit candles, she's declared a Shabbos, which means it's already not Friday, it's Friday night. Once it's Friday night, then she's already past the time to daven mincha. Therefore, she should first daven mincha and then light the Shabbos candles. But if for whatever reason she came home and it was already close to Shabbos, and if she would start getting dressed up now and washing her face and davening mincha, then she would possibly desecrate the Shabbos by lighting the candles too late. Then of course she should rather light the candles on time rather than chas v'shalom, heaven forbid, possibly desecrate the Shabbos. If the husband sees that she is late in coming home, it is a mitzvah for him to light the candles and to disregard her resentment. So she's obviously going to be very heartbroken when she walks into the house and she sees that her husband's already done the mitzvah. But of course, if the mitzvah is going to be in a way that desecrates the Shabbos, then that would be, instead of adding light, it would be adding darkness to the home. Instead of honoring the Shabbos and honoring Hashem, it would be an act of undermining the Shabbos, undermining Hashem. So if circumstances of such that the woman, for whatever reason, she was stuck in traffic or whatever it was, and it was already moments before sunset and she still wasn't home, then the man certainly should light candles because it's a mitzvah on the home after all. And then of course she would be part of the mitzvah. Usually the man is included, every person has an obligation to ensure that they showers candles. So usually the man is included in his wife's mitzvah, but under those circumstances, she would be included in his mitzvah. Please God, tomorrow night we'll learn about what happens if it is the man that lights the candles and not the woman, and more about lighting of the Shabbos candles. Thank you so much for joining.